Hi, my name's Laurie, and it's no exaggeration to say that alcohol took me probably as low as it can take a person, where I was getting in trouble with the police, waking up in hospital on a drip, not knowing how I'd got there, to ultimately 24/7 drinking, where being awake was to drink and drinking was to pass out. Waking up at 3 in the morning and drinking to oblivion, by then to me, was completely normal. And by then, though I couldn't get sober, I had to avoid withdrawal at all costs. Withdrawal was everything from physical shakes to really horrific stomach cramps to horrible, real hallucinations to the most crippling and overwhelming anxiety, to the stage where I wanted to crawl out of my own skin and climb up the walls. So yeah, in the end, I just had to avoid withdrawal completely. But it wasn't always like that. And I'm a textbook example of how alcohol can take somebody from being somebody who just likes having a drink to let their hair down through all of the well-documented stages of alcohol dependence, even though for years, in fact, right up until the end, I thought it could never happen to me. I went from loving a drink with my friends to maybe heavy drinking, and then heavy drinking to problem drinking. Problem drinking then merged into what a lot of people would call functioning, when I had my own business and I was turning up to meetings under the influence. But then it doesn't have a plateau, alcohol, and no matter how long these stages take, it can be a long time. I then moved into just being somebody who couldn't function. And then ultimately rock bottom, which was the 24/7 drinking, where I just knew by then that it had beaten me and I was going to die. And what is really scary is in the early years, it's the stealth-like way that alcohol can settle into somebody's life. And myself and the people closest to me, friends and family, for a long time didn't know that I had a problem because of the way it operates. It takes its time, and it's very stealth-like. But when I did realize a long time before I reached rock bottom that I might have a problem, I did try everything that you would expect somebody to try. From in the beginning, sitting in front of my GP many times, to having lots and lots of different counselling sessions. I also went to Alcoholics Anonymous many times, worked really hard, the 12 steps with sponsors, and I was also in and out of rehab too, and I spent a small fortune over the years on lots of other weird and wacky treatments that obviously ultimately didn't work. So I did try very hard, and I'm not telling you any of this to be sensational at all. That isn't why I'm telling you my story. It's just so important for me to explain how bad I got and how many things I tried to get sober, because of the stereotypes that still exist and which cause so much harm to people like myself and people who aren't as bad as I got. The stereotypes that people have that that cause stigma, which is a judgment about people like me. The stigma and judgment is all around people who have a problem with alcohol, irresponsible or weak, or if they do try to get sober, that they can't, that it's because they're not trying hard enough. And these stereotypes and stigma ultimately cause shame. And believe me, alcohol and alcohol dependence thrive on the shame that stigma and stereotypes cause. And what happens is in the early days, because of the shame and the embarrassment, if somebody realizes they've got a problem, it prevents them from seeking help early, because they're embarrassed and because they are worried about the judgment that people will make about them. And then when people do seek help, if it doesn't work, the stigma, stereotypes and shame cause people to blame themselves, and we have a blame culture. So that's why these stereotypes can be so harmful. And I really want to say now, if I've just described you, if you've been trying different, all of the solutions to or treatments to alcohol dependence or heavy drinking that people would expect you to try and they haven't been working, do not blame yourself. You are not weak. You're not irresponsible. It's just that you haven't found the thing that works for you. And I would say, do not give up looking for that. You can beat it. There's always hope. I'm proof of that. Like I said, it was as bad as you can possibly get, and here I am talking to you now. So never give up. That's so important. You're not to blame. And it might surprise you to know that I am absolutely not anti-alcohol. I spend a lot of time with family and friends who can enjoy a drink. It's very much part of our culture. It's very much here to stay. And just because I can't drink doesn't mean to say I'm totally against alcohol. I'm absolutely not. What I think is important is that we all have a healthy respect for it, because I know from experience how easy it is for it to get a grip on a person, and creep into your life. So just having a healthy respect for alcohol and maybe being mindful about our drinking can help prevent that from happening. And the other thing that is important is just please don't judge people who might have a problem with alcohol. Please help to break down these stereotypes of assuming that anyone who's struggling is weak or irresponsible or isn't trying hard enough, because that absolutely isn't the case. I'm proof of that. It can happen to anyone, and it does. There are lots of people who struggle. So please be kind, and just please help to reduce the harm that alcohol causes in our society by breaking down the stereotypes and by developing a healthy respect for it. Thanks so much for listening.